Hello and welcome to the Publishing Your Photo Book workshop with Sam Hall. This workshop's running as part of Medway Lens 2026, run by the Black Art Hub CIC. In it, I'll be giving you some tips on creating a photo book from your photos or your art. These are just some examples of photo books available online, shown in this slide, from various websites that advertise that they'll print your photo book for you. These are from Mixam, Vistaprint and Milk. But there are many others available to suit all budgets. So my first tip is, do your research and find a printer that suits your budget and what the aim of the book is. This is what we'll be covering. About me, examples of photo books, ways of publishing, the nitty-gritty, and a final word. The example shown here is a photo book by a very famous photographer, Martin Parr. So about me, I'm a designer, editor, journalist, author, illustrator with over 25 years of experience of producing books and magazines and of formatting artwork for printing commercially in the thousands, also called lithographic, and digitally via low runs. These are just some examples from my Wordsmithery publishing career. We don't publish other people's books now, only Confluence magazine, and our own occasional one-offs, which are graphic novels or poetry. So what exactly is a photo book? The photo book is a book of photographs by a photographer or photographers that has an overarching theme or follows a storyline, a convenient and reasonably cheap way of disseminating the work of a photographer to a mass audience. Early photo books were used to illustrate the work of individual photographers or a new type of photographic process. William Henry Fox Talbot published his photo book in 1844 called The Pencil of Nature in order to promote his photographic process. And over the years, photo books have helped to establish the idea that a sequence of images represents a narrative in its own right. German photographer August Sander published Face of Our Time, part of his lifelong project to create a comprehensive photographic index of the German population. And today, photo books are crucial for financing and circulating modern photography, enabling enthusiasts across a wide range of photographers from across the world. And that's from tate.org.uk. Here's an example from Diane Arbus, one of the world's most well-known photographers. And here's a further example from Martin Parr. So another example of a photo book, Shining Lights, Black Women Photographers in the 1980s to 90s Britain, is a groundbreaking critical anthology and archival project. And you can find a film on YouTube if you just search for Shining Lights, which gives you a little bit more info about this book. So how do you get your photo book published? Here are 4 possible ways. You could self-publish, producing your own limited run of a book, and that way you can control all aspects of how your book looks and how many you might print. You might print 10, you might print 100. You can submit your idea to publishers, so you would look for relevant publishers via their websites and look for info on how to submit a non-fiction proposal, specifically with fine art and photography publishers. You might want to make a hybrid format of a comic made out of photos and drawings, or a zine. A zine is a small personal magazine, often handmade, often just photocopied. So you need to bear in mind that how you produce the zine, either by photocopying or digital printing, might affect the quality of the photos. And you might want to play into that. Photocopied photographs can look quite sort of degraded and gritty, so that might be the look that you're going for. And then you could also get commissioned. So you could work with a writer or a publisher to take the photographs for a book. And here are some examples of the various things you might want to do with your photo book. If it's not just about photos. The examples on the left are 2 photo books I created as showcases of my work. They were printed via Photobook and sold digital. In the bottom one, I used illustrations of my work rather than photos, so that's something you might also want to do. And then the example of the zine or comic is my comic Believe in Me, which uses photos of Medway mixed in with illustrations, so Medway locals might recognise Fort Pitt arches and the Chatham Cemetery white squirrel. Then for poetry photo books, you've got an example of a book I made for a project, 23 Submarines for Icon Theatre. So you've got a poem on the left-hand spread, and on the right hand of the spread, you've got a illustration there, a photo of some submarines. And then finally, you've got an example from the Mixam website of a personal storybook, which really, the world's your oyster. You could put whatever you wanted into that. You could mix illustration, you could mix photographs, you could make a cookbook, you could make a celebration of an event. So a wedding is probably the most common sort of photo book that most people make. So to start off with the nitty-gritty, this is about planning. So things to consider. You might want to take notes, or you might want to just copy the text from the notes which I'll provide are underneath this video. So things to consider: what size, shape and format will the book be? How many pages do you think it will have? Is it going to be full colour or black and white, or a mix? Is it going to be text and images or just images? Can you lay it out, or do you need to involve a designer? So this might actually depend on how you're publishing it. A publisher might have a format they prefer, and that will be part of your contract negotiations. Is it a book for yourself or to sell to the public? So these photographs were taken at Medway River Lit 2023, and the bottom image shows Dylan Stallard, and the top image is a close-up of just some set decoration. This was taken by Nikki Price. So, for example, if I'm doing a book with photos from Medway River Lit, I don't want them to all be the same because that would be boring to the reader. So a little bit more info about these 2 photos that I might choose. I might throw in some close-ups and some funky angles like this Dutch angle. So, more planning. How many photos? Not too many photos on a page, probably 2 maximum. We want to be able to see your beautiful photographs. We don't want them to be too small. Are they all on the same topic? Do they relate to one project or more? Can the book express how you feel about the project? And consider how the photos relate to each other. Have you got a mix of landscape and portrait? Have you got long shots, mid shots, close up? Mix it up. Think about your viewer. And what fonts do you want to use, and at what size? These photographs here are from Medway River Lit 2024, and they were taken by Michi Massimi. Are you going to have your photos full bleed, where the photo goes to the very edge of the page? Or are you going to have them in a border, like these ones below by Michi? Formatting photos for printing. So you want to aim for nothing lower than 300 dots per inch for printing, and you want it in the format of CMYK. And also, if it's black and white, you probably want to save it as CMYK as well, depending on the printing. But this is something that you'll need to talk to the printers about. And you're likely to want an uncompressed TIFF format or a maximum JPEG at the intended print size. Basically, you need it in a lossless format, and you probably want it about 1:1 size so that your photos look as sharp as when you took them. But again, if in doubt, ask the publisher or the printing company, as they'll have certain specifications and they can always advise you about your project. And if you're working with a publisher, you might just be handing your photos straight over to the design team. So you can see that in the colour picture of Summertime Elmy, which were taken in last year's Medway River Lit 2025 by Anne-Marie Jordan, that it's a little bit out of focus because it was taken on a phone. But it shows him in action and it captures something about that moment or his performance. So not everything in your book has to be perfect, but you probably don't want all your photos to be out of focus unless that's your project. Maybe it's a project about photos that are out of focus. So in summary, decide the aims of your book. Is it a personal portfolio? Is it a book of photos, maybe of Greece or of your holidays to sell online? And you should shop around for a printing company that suits you. You can find them online or in the high street. Check out their specs, check out people's reviews of them, check out samples. They might send you a few samples of books that they've printed. When you're choosing your photos, choose the best or your favourite ones, and they don't have to be perfect, but probably most of them do have to be in sharp focus, unless you're saying something with that about the blurriness of life. And less is more. Don't try to jam everything in. It's a maximum of 2 images per page. And alternate the layouts. Think of the reader's experience. If you have everything exactly the same, it's boring for the reader. So mix up portrait and landscape photographs together. Maybe put 2 photos on the left hand of the spread and put 1 photo on the right hand. Or on the right hand, write a bit of narrative. So I hope that's been helpful, and good luck with your book. So this is me. That's a photo of me by Mitchie. And there's some more close-ups of my actual work. And here's where you can find me on the internet if you want to find out more. Thank you. Bye-bye.